Hey guys, welcome back for another episode of The Suited Shootist. And as the title suggests, I am going to talk today about how dressing well has the potential to save your life. And no, this is not hyperbole. This is not some little BS clickbaity title. This is empirically tested theory. So it's something that I kind of had hypothesized right when I started the channel, and I got a little bit more confirmation on it a few months back that I wanted to talk about. Before I did, there's a couple other things I want to touch on real quick. First off, we recently broke 2,000 subscribers, so to all the new subscribers, welcome. Really appreciate you guys being here. Thank everybody so much. And aside from that, not going to talk about it too much, but the feedback from the last video was overwhelmingly positive. I really do appreciate everybody's support and kind words. Of course, it's the internet, so a couple of people insisted on trying to be dickheads, but it was a very small percentage of the whole. So the feedback meant a lot to me, so thank you. Aside from that, we do have the Patreon that is alive and chugging. We've done a couple of live streams now where I talk about some other lifestyle stuff, as well as there is some consultation available. So if you are trying to kind of balance your wardrobe and your defensive gear, and that's something that you need some help with, that's an option for you as well. So the link to the Patreon is down below. But enough about that. Let's go ahead and jump into things. So, as I mentioned, the idea that dressing well has the potential to actually save your life. The idea first struck me back when I was taking Mag 40, and there's a block within that Massad Ayoob talks about where he goes into some of the witness management, because aside from you and the person that you've been forced to shoot, those are the only two people that truly know what transpired to elicit that reaction. Everybody else may have seen what happened. They may have only seen part of what happened. So establishing that you're the good guy is pretty damn important for a series of reasons. I'm not going to go into too much detail on that. Mag 40 is absolutely a class that anybody that owns a defensive firearm, let alone carries one, should take, and it is well worth the cost of admission. So that's kind of where I first had the idea, but I didn't have anything that I could point to as proof other than just kind of my gut feeling. That was in 2016. Fast forward a few years, I'm at the Rangemaster Tactical Conference in Dallas back in March, so 2021, and I'm sitting through John Hearn's lecture, which was the 8-hour block spread over 2 days of who wins, who loses, and why. It's an incredibly comprehensive class. Again, if you have the opportunity to take it, my understanding is that he's just recently launched 2 Pillars training, and so I'll link to that down below as well. I believe that this is actually part of his coursework that he's offering through that. Definitely get in on it, because it delves very deeply into the more, I'm not going to say intangible, because a lot of it is very quantifiable, but a lot of the major elements of the what leads to successful outcomes. And again, well worth the cost of admission. I'm not somebody that is academically inclined, and I was sitting through 2 4-hour blocks first thing in the morning, and it held my attention the entire time. It is invaluable information. One of the elements that he addresses in this was a study done by a gentleman by the name of Tom Avini. And forgive me, I'm kind of having to look in and reference the notes, because I want to get this as accurate as I possibly can, because it really is critical. The name of the study was Critical Analysis of Police Shootings Under Ambiguous Circumstances. And very high level, it was a series of effectively force-on-force scenarios where they injected officers into ambiguous situations, as the title would suggest, and they tried to measure various different contributing factors that would cause an officer to shoot or not shoot the suspect or suspects in question. One of the interesting things that was noted was, and this is a direct quote, was that officers were less likely to shoot when the suspect was in business clothes. I'm not going to dive into some of the implications of that in terms of, current political temperature and socioeconomic considerations and all that, but even when they were dealing with suspects of different races, it was how they were dressed that was a major driving factor. So that then led John to kind of coin his, what he calls his rule of the well-dressed gunman, which he boils it down very simply to, if you're going to be carrying a gun in public, you should at the very least be wearing a collared shirt. The idea being is that, for as much as they may not necessarily apply to you in your daily life, there are certain social norms and certain social expectations. And so the more that you are able to kind of fit into a template of wearing the uniform of a good guy, it does you some favors. And if that favor is giving a responding officer a little bit more pause to make that don't shoot decision while you're managing the scene, that's additional time that you have. And if you're going to dismiss the concept, think about this. Pat McNamara talks about he has his kind of active shooter response bag, and one of the things in it is a blaze orange construction vest because he wants to be as high visibility as possible. His logic being is that responding officers, if they see somebody in high-vis clothing, they're not going to immediately register that guy as the threat, because who in their right mind would be doing something like that and wearing high-visibility clothing? It's the same concept, just a little bit more socially normal. So it may apply to you, it may not. And I'm certainly not saying that you got to run down to the corner store wearing a full suit and tie. But it definitely goes back to what I was talking about previously about dressing more intentionally. Because for as much as we, the gun community, kind of like to poke fun at some of the folks that are sometimes intentionally or unintentionally dressing like off-duty cops, in the sense of, kind of just festooned in the latest 511 gear, there's a certain amount of merit to it from the standpoint of what you're wearing is communicating a certain level of authority, a certain level of credibility, essentially. And so if somebody comes across a scene and the person that is quite literally holding the smoking gun is dressed like this versus ripped up cargo shorts, chain wallet, and like a ratty-ass metal band t-shirt, while the conclusions may not be 100% accurate, there are certain conclusions that can be drawn from that. And the idea being is what I've been talking about for quite a while, is simply using how you dress and how you wear your clothing to be in control of the message that's being communicated. I thought it was just a fun little, kind of it was validation for me. I'm being completely honest. It was one of those where it's like, hey, I thought this was a good idea, and it turns out I was right. 100%. This is a little bit of me patting myself on the back in that sense. But in the same vein, it is valuable information, and there are a whole bunch of aspects of that Avini study that get touched on in the lecture, and you can even Google the lecture itself. I'm also going to include a couple of links to an excerpt from it from the Houston Police Department, as well as a couple of articles from the Force Science Institute that delve into this a little bit more, because obviously it's not just what you're wearing. There's a lot of different factors to it, but this is one contributing element, and my channel being what it is, I definitely felt it was worth touching on. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I wanted to keep things a little bit more lighthearted this week. And so aside from that, I hope everybody has a great week. Have a fantastic weekend. Happy 4th of July. Stay safe and stay sharp.